Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask me what do I think about Dr. John McDougall recommending a whole foods starch-based diet. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. All right, a lot of vegans are going to be surprised to know this because I promote eating meat that I'm actually familiar and a fan of Dr. John McDougall. One of the reasons I am is that he promotes a lot of common sense nutrition for his clients as a medical doctor. He has helped reverse tons of type 2 diabetes, tons of obesity, tons of heart disease with diet and exercise. And while he is himself a vegan, what I'm okay with is that while he prefers a vegan diet, he admits it isn't necessary to be a vegan to get all the health benefits from this. And that's what a lot of people need to grasp. There's no need to go 100% extreme and crazy food avoidance diets to get health. People come up with these ideas of, well, if a whole foods plant-based diet works, and if that's all you eat and you cut out everything that's not in that category, it will work even better. That's not true. That's not how the body works, and the science doesn't back that. That's also like saying, we know there are health benefits to eating a low-fat diet, so if you cut your fat down to zero, well, if you cut your fat to zero, you'll die. You see how the stupidity of this stuff works? So when we say they don't eat too much of certain things, doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't eat any of it. And it doesn't mean that because eating a lot of one thing as your primary fuel source is good for you and healthy, doesn't mean that that's all you should ever eat. All right, there are benefits for a lot of people to consuming a bit more protein than they're going to get on a vegan diet, let's be honest. And again, there's no data to suggest that vegan diets would beat what Dr. McDougall is talking about, even for people who added in lean animal proteins every day. They're still going to get 100% of the health benefits of what he's talking about. And he, at least to some extent, will admit that, and that's why I'm okay with it. But what he generally recommends is that people eat a diet where they get the majority of their calories from whole foods that are starchy, like starches. That's your primary fuel source, and that's the way he describes it. That's your body's preferred fuel source, which your body runs efficiently on. Incidentally, the diet that he recommends is going to have a lot of satiety. And he is a big believer that fat itself, calorie for calorie, has a low satiation value. The ketogenic diets, and he understands how they work. He admits that they can work for appetite control because the ketones themselves suppress appetite. The fat in your diet doesn't suppress appetite very well. And he goes a lot into showing food volumes and everything else in the stomach and gastric emptying and everything of why that is. So he's a big believer in that the actual higher fiber starchy foods not only fill you up best, they give you the best energy, and they're better for overall health. And it tends to keep your cholesterol better, your blood sugar better, all of that if you're getting the majority of your calories from whole foods that are very, very starchy. He's not even that big on fruit for that same reason. Not saying don't eat fruit, but that's the thing. He knows, just like most other registered dietitians and medical doctors know, too much fructose is bad for you. Doesn't mean you need to cut it to zero. There's no health benefits to cutting to zero fructose, but there are health benefits to limiting fructose. So it's the same thing. He would tell you, even fruit shouldn't be the major staple in your diet. It needs to be starchy, fibrous foods. And what he means by that, he means potatoes, all sorts of other tubers, doesn't have to be just potatoes, whole grains. All right, there's a lot of whole grains out there. There's wheat, oats, rye, barley, all sorts of stuff. Legumes, beans, lentils, starchy foods. Starchy foods should comprise the majority of your calories. Most of your calories should come from carbohydrates, and most of them should come from starches because, number one, it tends to give good satiety, it gives good energy, and if there's enough fiber there, it tends to slow down everything from gastric emptying to digestion to keeping your blood sugar stable. Plus, there's a lot of health benefits to your gut and immune system to consuming fiber. And again, if these are all whole foods, there's going to be sufficient fiber there if that's where the majority of your calories are coming from. Furthermore, it's your body's more efficient energy source. Your body burns glucose very well as a fuel source. So because of that, you're not going to have various different issues and stress put on your body to accommodate all these other foods, meaning you can get calories from fructose, but it puts a stress on your liver to do so because it has to convert that fructose into a usable form, and it can create some liver toxicity. Your body can turn protein into a fuel source, and that's what happens to a lot of people who eat really high protein diets. You're using protein as a fuel source. You're having to turn it into glucose. Your liver's having to do that. It puts stress on your liver. It makes your liver work harder. And what he's kind of saying is there's no point in making all these systems in your body work harder than they need to get fuel. And he's also pointed out that it's been noted that people gain less fat even if they overeat on a really low-fat diet that's comprised of mostly glucose-based starchy foods. They gain less fat. Not saying they won't gain some fat, but they gain less, but they tend to eat less anyways doing such a thing. And his whole principle is that, yes, starches are your body's easiest form of fuel that doesn't require different organs in your body to put in extra work and put extra strain on your body, extra toxicity, extra work for your liver. Your digestive system handles it. They're released as glucose, which every single cell in your body can use as a fuel source. And glucose, contrary to a lot of myths out there, doesn't get stored as body fat. It doesn't elevate bad cholesterol. It doesn't cause you a lot of problems that people worry about. You don't actually store glucose as body fat very easily, not in humans at least. Mice and rats are a different story. So his point with all of that is that because a diet like that doesn't cause fat gain very easy, it's very difficult to gain fat on a diet like that, it's going to make obesity less of a problem. And we know obesity itself causes tons of health problems. That's not even subject to debate. Every medical doctor knows that. Obese people, just the fact of being obese with no other health factors even factored in, even the type of diet they follow not even being factored in, obese people who carry too much body fat have higher risk of cancer. They have higher rates of cardiovascular disease like heart attack, strokes. They have higher rates of diabetes. All the stuff that kills people younger or causes them lower quality of life later in life, obesity is a driving factor behind it. And that's what he points out. A diet like this could essentially cure the obesity epidemic. And he's right. It would, other than just a few tiny handful of people who have insane appetites for whatever reason. The majority of obese people following that sort of dietary approach, it would go away. It would disappear. Along with it would go all the diabetes and everything else. And his diet tends to cure type 2 diabetes, even though it's people eating mostly carbs, as much as 70% of their calories coming from carbohydrates, because it's all slow digesting, fibrous carbohydrates that don't put extra strain on the liver. And that liver strain has been associated with diabetes and metabolic syndrome, and that's from too much fructose. That because you're getting pretty much glucose, it just is a slow release into the body, it tends to be easy for your body to regulate it. It tends to help with insulin sensitivity. So that's one of the methods by which it reduces type 2 diabetes. And the fact that you tend to lose body fat on a diet like that also helps with diabetes. So you're removing two of the biggest problem, which is, too much fructose intake, fluctuating blood sugar, along with obesity. Those are your big causes of type 2 diabetes. You're removing them. And he's had probably hundreds of his personal clients or his patients that he works with reverse their type 2 diabetes. So his approach definitely works. So anyone who would say that this guy's approach doesn't work clearly isn't looking at it. And that's what we should all be looking at. Everyone who is watching YouTube Fitness, I hope you're concerned with your health. I hope that you're not just concerned with being an aesthetic bodybuilder. I hope you're not just concerned with your powerlifting total. I would really hope that most of you are concerned with your quality of life moving forward, how healthy and fit you're going to be down the road, because that is massively important. And you know what? Most of you, even if you compete in something right now, you're probably not going to compete forever. You might think you will, but you probably won't. And when you're done competing and you're done being concerned with being a mass monster, or having a 600 or 700 pound deadlift or a 19-inch arm, you're going to hopefully be concerned with continuing to lift and continuing to be fit. And people like Dr. McDougall do put out very good nutrition information overall for people who just want to be fit and healthy. People who say, hey, when I get older, I don't want to be obese. I don't want to have heart attacks. I don't want to have strokes. I don't want to have diabetes. I don't want to have cancer. Well, one of the best things you can do for that, in addition to lifting weights and doing cardio, is to eat a diet of pretty much like he's talking about. Not saying you have to exclude any food group. That's not what it's saying at all. It's saying that if you eat a diet where you get the majority of your calories from starches, and you eat a diet that's whole food and starch-based, you're just simply less likely, dramatically less likely, to develop these various health issues. And if you're doing something like that, like he's recommending, eating mostly starches, getting plenty of green veggies in, and you're exercising, you're lifting weights, you're doing cardio, as a demographic, you pretty much have the lowest possible chance of getting any of those diseases. Now, is it possible for you to get them still? Yes, but you have cut your chances about as low as you can possibly expect. So when someone says, do you think he's giving good advice by saying that? Of course I am. Most registered dietitians would say, yeah, he's pretty much on the money. Not saying you should go be a vegan or anything, but eating most of your calories from starches, getting lots of fiber in, eating mostly whole foods, getting plenty of green vegetables in, yeah, that's pretty much the ticket. That's pretty much the key. As far as health goes, overall health goes, a diet like that is about as healthy as you're possibly going to get. You're not going to be able to really improve upon that. So the general idea is sound. And again, as far as him having tons of patients who reverse their diabetes, who reverse their obesity problems, everything else, he's got a pretty good success rate. Seems to work pretty well. So again, it's medically sound, it's scientifically sound, and he's getting good results with his clients. So, I mean, how can you really argue with that approach? You can't. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.